Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge, a naturally neat nature documentary. On our drive-in, you see heronries off to our left. These are heron nests. The herons will return to these every year. Get off at exit 41 on the thruway. Make our way. As we're going down the road, we see these bald eagle nests up on top of the electrical lines. There are at least 3 of them. Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge is at 3395 US Route 20 East in Seneca Falls, New York. You can call them at 315-568-5987. As we approach, there's a marsh off to the left. You see a bunch of different types of birds here, mostly Canada geese. There are going to be several photographers on your journey, as there were on mine today. I did wake up incredibly early to try and get some good video today. I was advised, and rightfully so, that bald eagles are very active in the morning. Here's the visitor center. They have a bunch of pamphlets and stuff. There are a couple different sculptures, metal sculptures in the refuge. Here's one of them with herons. Pretty nice. And then we start our wildlife drive. The gravel road reaches all the way around this central pool. There's smaller pools like this one off to the outside, where you'll find seagulls, Canada geese, grebes, ducks, sandpipers, all sorts of different stuff. Egrets, herons. Today was particularly windy, 50 degrees and gusts up to 30 miles an hour with sustained winds at 15 miles an hour. So I apologize for all of the wind noise. Many of the birds here are very territorial, especially the geese and herons. You notice here the geese are attacking each other, but in other videos on the channel you'll notice egrets like the one you see here fly in and attack large groups of Canada geese. So none of them appear to be afraid of each other, but they're all very aggressive and territorial. You are playing along with the subtitle captions and guessed bald eagles, you would be correct. Here we see 2 mature bald eagles perched together, seemingly talking about what their next meal is going to be. Bald eagles can sit perched for hours on end. If you've watched any of my other bald eagle videos on my channel, you will see that, and that I've got plenty of proof of that. But when they do finally take off, it is one of the coolest things as they spread out their massive wings and jump off of their platform with their monstrous legs. So it has been my experience that raptors, such as hawks, turkey vultures, and obviously bald eagles, tend to poop right before they fly. And when I say right before, it could be at 1 minute, 5 minutes, but it's considering how long they're perched for, it is right before they fly away. So if you do see a bird poop, just hang tight. They are probably going to take off soon. Additionally, as I mentioned before, they are active in the early hours. So should I have caught these birds at, say, 1 o'clock or 12, they probably would sit here for a couple hours. But catching them in the morning, it seemed to be, about 30-minute perch time, so significantly reduced. And additionally, I think I saw a lot more flying today because of the high winds. They really like to soar in the winds. One of the great highlights of the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge is the abundance of bald eagles. While on most of my visits, I'll see 1 or maybe 2 bald eagles, it's rare that I catch them on the same branch. I have seen a mature and a juvenile together before, and I've seen pictures of matures together before, but this was my first experience with 2 mature bald eagles on the same branch. So it's pretty exciting that I get to share that with you here today. This particular tree rests about 1/3 down the wildlife drive. It is off to the right. So if you get there and you're as excited as I am to see if there's going to be a bald eagle there, you just want to make sure you're not speeding on the trail. So the drive has a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. And it's good to adhere to because it gives you an opportunity to look to your left and right and see all the wildlife that exists. And there is plenty of it here beyond these bald eagles. A little bit about the Montezuma Wildlife Refuge. Exploration opportunities. Walking trails and viewing areas are open year-round from sunrise to sunset. You can expect some trail closures during the New York State white-tailed deer hunting seasons. The Wildlife Drive, which we are on in this video, is open from April 1st until November 30th, from sunrise to sunset, weather depending. Obviously, if there's a bunch of snow and they can't clear it, nobody's going to be going on it. And then the Visitor Center is open April 1st to November 30th as well, from 10 to 3, also weather depending. Establishing the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge in 1938 was the first step of many to restore the area back to its historic expanse of marshes. an area thriving with wildlife once used by indigenous people for hunting and fishing. The marshes were drained as a result of dam and canal construction in the early 1900s. With the help of the Civilian Conservation Corps, a series of constructed dikes began to hold water and wildlife returned. Today, the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge continues to work toward restoring the historic Montezuma marshes, grasslands, shrublands, and forests. As part of the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, a partnership between the U.S. FWS, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Audubon, New York, Ducks Unlimited, the Nature Conservancy, and Friends of the Montezuma Wetlands Complex, the refuge acquires land through deed or easement and restores it to provide critical habitat to migratory birds and other wildlife. Designated as an Audubon Important Bird Area, the refuge provides critical migration and nesting habitat for waterfowl, marsh birds, shorebirds, raptors, warblers, woodpeckers, and more. Montezuma was the first site in New York State for a bald eagle restoration program in the mid to late 1970s, reintroducing more than 20 bald eagles back into the wild. Today, the refuge boasts several active bald eagles nests, and many people visit just to see our nation's symbol in its natural habitat, including me. For more on their About Me, you can check out fws.gov and search Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge. Remember what I said earlier, when a bird poops, they're about to fly? I don't know if you've been watching, but if you haven't guessed yet, guess which bird is about to take off. What a jerk. He almost knocked off the other one. While I wasn't able to capture the flight that bird just took, it flew down by the river nearby and then straight up to this tree. It didn't seem to be fishing. Normally if it's fishing or like looking for fish, it'll do like a circle or fly around for a few minutes, but this was very quick. This was less than a minute flight. Female bald eagles are the larger bald eagles. They're distinguishable not only by their bigger body size, which is up to a third bigger than a male, but they also have a more distinguished beak and larger talons. So this one, it's a little bit far away, but while it was on the branch, it looked bigger, and from here, you can the beak looks very distinguished. So I'm assuming it's a female. With the high winds, as you saw in the previous clip, it was really difficult for me to maintain a stable camera. I've got a very large lens on the camera, so holding it is nearly impossible, and even on a tripod, the wind catches it so easily. So I set up in my van, and as I was setting up, apparently this fella had taken off, did a circle, picked up, it looks like maybe an eel, and brought it back and was already feasting by the time I looked back over. So yeah, here he goes, ripping that eel apart. I think that's its spine dangling. It is tough to say whether or not that is an eel. It looks like it's a long creature, whatever it is. I did see a mink run across the trail, which I hadn't seen at Montezuma previously. This was the first time I ever saw one. I hope it wasn't that guy, but maybe it was. This guy seems to be tearing into whatever it was, so whatever it was is tasty and will ensure that this bird lives to see another day. while this bald eagle feasts, let me tell you more from fws.gov what the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge does. So wildlife conservation is at the heart of the National Wildlife Refuge system. It drives everything on U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service lands and waters managed within the refuge system, from the purposes for which a National Wildlife Refuge is established to the recreational activities offered to the resource management tools used. Using conservation best practices, the refuge system manages service lands and waters to help ensure the survival of native wildlife species, like this bald eagle. While a visit to Montezuma can transport you deep into nature, it is important to know that much of the refuge is human-made and therefore continuously monitored and managed. Each refuge pool is created using heavy equipment to build dikes that hold water. Each pool also has a water control structure to allow water to be drained as needed for optimum habitat. The main pool also has an inlet from Cayuga Lake, so it can be filled using gravity-fed lake water. Other pools rely on water being pumped in or on rain to refill. A pool may be drained during spring and summer for one of two reasons: either to let plants regrow and refresh the marsh, or to create feeding habitat for migrating shorebirds. Grassland and shrubland habitats undergo regular regimes of mowing and clearing in order to hold back natural succession to forest. We also used prescribed fire on some of our grasslands. Currently, forest management includes monitoring trees that were planted several years ago, studying the impacts of white-tailed deer on certain forested areas, and monitoring for invasive species to certain species of trees. For more, check out fws.gov. Unfortunately, my camera was set up to allow maximum light for the previous shot, and so when I followed the bird, the bald eagle, to the river, it was very, very light. So I do adjust the camera here in a moment, but I thought it was interesting that this bird decided to fly down to the river to feast on an already dead animal. But bald eagles are opportunists and will take a free meal if they've got one. You'll notice the river has a pretty strong current today. And as the eagle digs into whatever it is that it's eating, it's causing quite a splash. Look at it go to town there. It also appears to have a feather in its nostril. And if you remember, if you've seen one of the previous videos of a bald eagle perched, also had a feather in its nostril. I believe it might be the same bird. As I mentioned before, today we had wind gusts up to 30 miles per hour and sustained winds were 15 miles per hour. It was a little bit chilly, but it didn't seem to bother the birds. They were out in full force and there were a lot of them. Mostly mature bald eagles. Watch this one. It's like spinning onto its back there. Did it a couple times. It was pretty cool. But it was mostly mature bald eagles in the skies today. There were some juvenile bald eagles. And then later towards the end, once all the eagles kind of migrated, north or south or wherever they went for the day, a turkey vulture appeared. But bald eagles showed up again after the turkey vulture's very short appearance. But here's a mature bald eagle. The Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge provides important habitat to over 300 species of birds. Of these, more than 100 species are known to nest on the refuge. Getting back to the bald eagle, they have impressive wingspans, with wingspans that can reach up to 7 feet, making them one of the largest birds of prey in North America. Here we get to see 2 of them flying together. Bald eagles can get quite old. They get their white heads around age 5, but they can live up to 30 years old. That means the bald eagle that I saw when I was in high school doing my outward bound trip that already had a white head, he dead. So not that this fella's doing it just yet, but bald eagles there's some fun facts about their flight. First, flight speed, they can fly up to 30, even 40 miles per hour during level flight. However, hunting or diving for prey, they go even faster. They are soaring masters, which we get a lot of that in this documentary. Skilled at soaring, they often use rising thermals to gain altitude without even flapping their wings. This helps them conserve energy while searching for prey. Now, I didn't get my ruler out today, but apparently they can fly at altitudes of over 10,000 feet above sea level, which I think that's higher than some planes fly. They are agile flyers despite their large size. They can make sharp turns and dive with precision to catch prey and exhibit impressive aerial acrobatics, as we saw earlier. With the mature bald eagle was kind of spinning around upside down in the sky. Looked like a fighter jet almost. Bald eagles are pretty strong. They're able to lift basically their body weight in prey. Like fish, small mammals, whatever they're eating for the day. But they can lift those things up and bring them all the way to the top of that tree there and eat them, just like we saw earlier. Notice some of the clouds passing overhead are a little bit darker. There was a storm starting to roll in as I was taking some of this video, and I believe that is probably part of the updraft that we saw. So yes, it was windy, but I think there was also an updraft which caused a lot of the soaring that we were allowed to witness today. I'm not a weatherman. So if you're a weatherman and I'm wrong, comment below. But it seems like if it's like heat or warm weather coming in, maybe that created that draft. So was it, what would that be, like a low front or a high front? I don't know. I'm not a weather guy. But we got a couple more minutes of watching this bird perched. You'll notice it does do a little dookie, lightens its load, and then it's leaning forward. So it looks like it's prepared to take off any moment. I know for a fact in post-production that it takes another couple of minutes. So enjoy this perched bird or skip ahead. In my opinion, there's nothing cooler than a soaring bald eagle. Well, maybe them taking off or catching a fish or something, but a soaring bald eagle is just incredibly cool to me. So if you are subscribed to my channel, you'll notice an abundance of bald eagle videos. Some of them are perched, but they almost always include the takeoff or the bird flying or landing. I'm very fascinated by how careful and majestic and beautiful these large raptors are. So juvenile bald eagles, they sometimes, this one's starting to get, this one's pretty young, I think. But as they get older, their beaks will slowly start to turn gold. And obviously they'll start to get the white feathers on their head. But for now, relatively young, they'll be very dark. Dark head, dark tail, as this one is. This one's got some light colored feathers, so I feel like this one might be 6 months old or younger. But if you are a bald eagle expert and know different, please put it in the comments below. The video that you're seeing is a little bit deceptive as well. So here it looks like there's just one bird in the sky, but in fact there were several. Up to 10 at a time, presumably all bald eagles. I wasn't able to film all of them to ensure that, but it looked, a lot of them were flying very similar to bald eagles, which have a distinctive flight pattern. Very unlike turkey vultures, which we'll see one later here in the video, that showed up after the bald eagles temporarily left. sure if this congregation was like a family reunion of sorts, or if it's just part of like some kind of migration that was happening today. I know a lot of birds will migrate, especially in colder months, but the bald eagle is unique in that a lot of times they will stay in their local habitat, like they won't migrate. Some do, some don't. So maybe we are seeing some birds from Canada showing up near Seneca Falls. Sooner than the last bald eagle leaves the skies, and this turkey vulture comes to see what all the fuss was about. Flying over, looking down below for any kind of wildlife that it can feast on. Looking at the local outlet near the dead tree, we see a great blue heron. Moving further down the wildlife drive, we see these sandhill cranes. These seem to have showed up late September. I don't know that they're here year-round, but I just started noticing them recently, the last few weeks or so. Canada geese. If you haven't seen these before, just go outside and look into the sky, or go to your local park or the intersection nearest your house. These things are everywhere, but fun to watch land. They kind of tumble as they try to lose altitude. Favorite spots. Usually there's a cormorant here, and today there was a bald eagle. So I was all prepared to get video of a bird that I hadn't shown you guys yet, and instead there's this mature bald eagle just chilling. So we'll watch this guy sit here for a few minutes, and then obviously I like to capture the takeoff. But notice the wind, how windy it is, as it pushes his feathers around and it pushes the tall grass all over the place. It was definitely a cold day today. A cold day, and presumably why this bald eagle is trying to stay out of as much wind as possible. I don't know if he's getting a lot of cover. It looks like his feathers are blowing around a little bit more than the other ones were in the tree, but such is life. if I'm wrong, but this kind of looks like a poop right here. So he's about to take off. So if you're still watching this perched bald eagle, just be prepared. He's about to fly. Travel down the wildlife drive. We're getting near the very end. This is one of the last pools on the left, and I see an egret. And then all of a sudden, flying in, I thought from the corner of my eyes that these were seagulls, and I was like, oh, I'll just grab a quick view of the seagulls. And it was a ton of egrets. Unfortunately, I had my 500mm lens on, so I didn't get a good view of them flying in. But there was a lot of them. We see, I don't know, roughly 10 egrets. It's pretty cool. And then, oh, right there, there's the cormorants I wanted to show you that would be perched where that previous bald eagle was. All right, and then lastly, we have some mallard ducks. We saw them earlier on the wildlife drive, but would it not be a wildlife documentary if we didn't take a moment, especially for these beautiful mallard ducks? See them here, they're swimming through this swampy yuck land, presumably eating bugs. And then we get one more goodbye from the raptors in the sky, and overlooking Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge just after exiting the wildlife drive. We're headed back to the thruway. This is a little parking spot that you can pull off into. And then we will get another look at a beautiful metal sculpture and our farewell. So, lots in this video. There was a lot to see, and I highly encourage that you check out the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge north of Seneca Falls, New York. It's off of exit 41 on the thruway. That's Highway 90, US, whatever. US Highway 90. So hop off exit 41 sometime. It takes about 15 minutes from the exit, and you can spend all day driving around looking at wildlife.